Welcome to the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, JP Gotzi. We have another Civic Engagement Platform here with one of our candidates for City Council from the great city of Portsmouth, Tony Goodwin. Tony, thanks for being with us. By the way, the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce is coastalvachamber.com. Tune in there to see not just this interview, but all the other wonderful guests that we've had from across our great Commonwealth. Tony, what's happening?
Hey, how are you doing there? Nice to see you this morning.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Have you been elected before? Have you run before? And why the good citizens of Portsmouth want to elect you for City Council?
Well, actually, it's running for mayor, but it is a city council position. But no, my name, of course, is Tony Goodwin. I do a lot of professional business in the real estate and development world. That's what I know. And but what I really want to say to everyone in Hampton Roads is that I'm actually a Hampton Roads native, born and bred right here in Portsmouth, and lived between obviously the Western Branch section of Chesapeake. Lived at the oceanfront for a bit, and brought when I was married, bought my wife here as a longtime resident of Norfolk. And we're getting ready to celebrate our 20th anniversary here next week, and moved in right when we were married, and invested into the city, and then also have a 13-year-old that is a Churchland trucker. So if you had ever thought I was going to be a Churchland trucker pop, based upon the fact that I was a Western Branch Bruin and a First Colonial Patriot, hey, and my wife's a Maury grad, so we're obviously well diverse in the Hampton Roads population. So, but what's really my biggest objective here to run for mayor for the city of Portsmouth is basically the city of Portsmouth has had a lot of missteps and a lot of lost leadership for the last decade, and our goal is to bring cohesiveness to the city's leadership that can open the doors to be a strong player for the entire Hampton Roads region. Let's face it, if you've got an engine of 8 cylinders and only 7 are running or firing on all 7 cylinders, that one cylinder is still going to affect the entire operation of the engine. So Hampton Roads is made up of the seven cities and the multiple counties and areas that make us work as a group. And so my goal is to bring us back to being competitive inside the region, and by doing that is simply bringing strong leadership back to City Hall.
Civil discourse in our chamber is one of our main focal points.
Sure.
We all long for the good old days of Kennedy-Nixon debates or the Reagan-Mondale debates versus the debacle that we saw 2 weeks ago. And the nastiness and name-calling, it just churns my stomach. What are your thoughts on that, and has your campaign been fairly civil?
Oh, by all means. I intended to run nothing but a positive campaign to tell people that we are here as a relief to the way things have been over the number of years. And politics does not have to be basically like a custody battle. And leadership has to simply focus in on why are they there? Are they servant leaders? Are they simply leaders that are just dividing and conquering? And I simply go back to tell everybody my goal is that I'm a Rotarian of the Portsmouth Rotary Club, 7th oldest Rotary Club in the state of Virginia, and served 2 terms as president for that club. And by all means, their firm belief is service above self, and that's what I'm going to be bringing to the table as leadership. Yes, it does the good guy always win? In this case, the good win will be the win of Portsmouth Mayor.
Oh, very nice, very nice. That's a city, and I love Portsmouth. Roger Brown's one of my favorite guys in the world. Love him to death. But it's a black and white city, and it just seems like all the issues come down based on the color of your skin versus what's good for the city. How are you going to make that go away and erase that?
Well, it's a mindset and a culture that's driven by, the leadership is leading by example. And as long as they continue to lead by example, the rest of the citizens are simply going to follow their lead. So my goal is there's nobody that can deny the fact that we need jobs in this city. We used to be a manufacturing mecca here in Hampton Roads, more manufacturing jobs in Portsmouth and in its small space than the region when it comes to food processing over the years. Those were living wage jobs then. We need those living wage jobs back. We are a city that is that to do anything we have to redevelop. We have almost 300 to 400 acres of private, not owned by the government land, ready for development to bring those jobs in. And we've identified manufacturing opportunities that will start to look at these locations and say, yes, we can bring our business here because there's enterprise zone, there's hub zones, there's federal, state, and local incentives all the way up and down the board. They're just not being shared, or better yet, that are being shared, but nobody's willing to take on City Hall to get it done.
Well, that's the problem. When a business wants to come to a community, they'd like to see leadership and not the chaos, because with the resignations, and I'm not being mean, I'm just being what everybody sees there in Portsmouth, just a void of leadership somehow there with the reservations and the firings and the lawsuit now against Senator Lucas and that whole crazy situation. Give me a reason why a business would want to come there, Ms. Goodwin.
Well, here's the thing. As a real estate agent and hearing from my colleagues in the business, from the big house of DeVaris and SB Nussbaum and the other agents, they all represent companies that want 6, 7, 8 locations in Hampton Roads. And they say, Tony, we can't put our name or reputation on it to have one fail, so we're not even going to bother showing them the property. Also, on the other hand, you've got responses of people that want to come into the area, and say, okay, show me everything you've got but Portsmouth, because our name has already gotten out to the industry that says they don't want to deal with them. So my goal is simple. We're going to basically go in and identify where the breakdown is. In fact, we already know where the breakdown is, but we're also going to make sure that people know that we have these incentives, we have the willingness, we have the opportunities, and we're going to blaze the path to make sure that they are not going to be held up by simple bureaucratic red tape. It's going to stop.
COVID, let's talk about that. That obviously devastated Hampton Roads as well as the world. How has Portsmouth dealt with it? And we asked this to all the mayors and candidates with the different cities. And are you going to be involved? Is there money still in the kitty to support these small businesses, which we all know are the lifeblood of the economy?
Well, first and foremost, it's the health of the citizens. The citizens, obviously, the numbers have been up and down on how many folks have been infected and also unfortunately perished to this pandemic. And I feel for every one of those families that have lost loved ones within the city and outside the city. And but I do want to say that when it comes to the economic aspect of it, I feel like Portsmouth has a lot to, again, offer into the region, because I'm a betting man only in the case that I feel like the federal government and the state government are going to look for alternative ways to stop this from happening again. The first thing they talked about during this COVID issue was the fact that they were worried about not having enough beds in hospitals to handle the onslaught of people coming in. Right. So the theory is, if that's the case, we need to go back and look into what is the alternative to that, and that is start replacing infrastructure in our healthcare system. Portsmouth has Maryview Hospital that has long since been a wonderful community hospital in our city, but has been sold and moved around and still offers services, but has been pulling away services from the hospital for many years. And so I feel like it's time to look at the opportunity for a shovel-ready project that our federal government and also our state government can get behind to put a regional facility right in the middle of Hampton Roads, reposition the location on land that we have available already today, and actually build a new hospital infrastructure to solve the Hampton Roads region and add more beds that we need to be prepared for the next time. The population of Portsmouth was one of the highest risk of COVID, but also here's another thing a lot of people really don't know. We're also the highest in cancer patients in the state here in the city of Portsmouth. And that's where we can also benefit from the opportunity to have a cancer institute, because Centera justified building the new cancer institute over by Centera Lee because of the fact that they see an increase of almost 30% in cancer patients by the year 2030. And Portsmouth is already top of the list. We can have a cancer institute right here. That not only creates jobs, but it also creates a sense for the residents of the city and northern Chesapeake to know that they've got quality healthcare access here in this city. And that's going to be one of my biggest pushes. To add to your economic question, the money is also available through our economic development department. They've gone through about 2, maybe 3 rounds now, and still are accepting applications for people who qualify, either if they didn't take the PPP or some of the other alternative funding sources to keep their businesses alive. But being a Old Town Business Association president for almost 5 years, also a member of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, and a board member and a alumni of the lead Hampton Roads class of 2020, I can honestly say I'm a pro-business guy, and I'm definitely going to make sure that our businesses are made whole after this has happened. We're on the precipice of the largest economic reset in modern history, and we're going to be in the front seat, not in the back seat this time.
Well, we certainly are going to reach out to you, as well as all our listeners, to become members of our team, the Coastal BA Chamber, because we're focused on small business, supporting and lobbying on their behalf, and giving them the information that they need to build their businesses. We're here with Tony Goodwin. He wants to be the next mayor of the city of Portsmouth. I'm your host, JP Gotzi, from the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce. Moving right along, because the time's flying by. Regionalism. That's always something that's sounded great in the 36 years I've lived here in Norfolk and Virginia Beach. Your thoughts on that? Can the cities work together? Are they doing enough to work together and support each other?
Well, I'll refer back to one of my biggest comments before, and that is if we don't all run on the same path, like I said, the engine has 8 cylinders, or it's got all cylinders have to be working. It's just evident. Then they talk about the mega region connecting Hampton Roads to Richmond. Well, if we're not getting it right down here first and foremost, we need to do that in the beginning, so we can have that foundation to work with. I am a big regionalism guy. I have the understanding and willingness to accept the fact that our history probably dictates the most obvious, and that is, you asked me about the white and black thing in Portsmouth. Well, you look at the map of Hampton Roads, and you see how Norfolk and Portsmouth were basically landlocked in 1962 when the regions were basically annexed, or cities were trying to annex county space. And then there's people in the city of Portsmouth that have lived in 3 different cities and never moved from the same address because of the regionalism and the annexation in 1962. So understanding the history is foremost. That is key to understand how you're going to come along and make this regionalism thing work. And that's what I've done, and I will continue to do. We do have options. We do have opportunity that I think if we have the leaders, and specifically the mayors, it's always looked at as the mayors are basically on the same page, then we will see the value of pushing regionalism into the next decade.
Casino. Norfolk wants one by the ballpark. Waterside wants it there. You guys want it over there. Do you support it? Is it going to be up for a referendum? Your thoughts on the casino?
Well, there's nothing going to sneak up on my campaign to tell you that I support it and then I don't support it. But I do tell people that in 2012 I testified at the Senate Finance Committee as the Business Association president, along the lines of adopting a riverboat or casino on the water, and basically going to any port of calls inside of Hampton Roads. Portsmouth being specifically because it was driven towards the idea of offsetting the tolls on the downtown and midtown tunnel that just went into effect. That was the original discussion. Now it's something totally different. Quite frankly, I think we could have gotten the riverboats if we would have simply sold it or packaged it better, because then you wouldn't have had the folks out on I-81 who had the morals of saying, no, we don't want casinos in the state of Virginia. Well, guess what? You can't get a 400-passenger riverboat anywhere in the Appalachian Mountains. So what I'm saying is, let us do this as a local initiative to offset our transportation dollars that we need so badly. And, oh, by the way, when it comes to my platform, I'm a big believer in tourism. Tourism is obviously one of our three major economies in Hampton Roads. We cannot deny the fact that the state of Virginia has a $26 billion industry that they're going to, oh, by the way, prop up really strong after this pandemic is over with. So my goal is to simply look into the opportunities of making sure if we do have the opportunity to get a casino, it's going to be tourism based. But at this point in time, the referendum identifying it 3 miles inland in a neighborhood or next to a failed shopping center, it's not a location that I'm willing to step up on, and I'm not in favor of it at that location. It's a convenience.
So are you saying you would like to see it be a riverboat, so it could be right there at the harbor front there, and then be able to move around, go out to the ocean?
Well, that was my initial thought back in 2012. But for the fact that we've got now land-based casinos approved and moving forward, I don't see it changing direction at this point. The referendum is specific to the location on Interstate 264 and Victory Boulevard, and I'm not in favor of it, nor will I be supporting it at that location.
Budget's rapidly running out of time. The budget, obviously, fewer tax dollars coming in. How are you going to balance your budget? Any programs specifically that you think are going to have to be cut?
Well, yeah, I'll be going in and looking at this and saying, why are we spending the average spend, and this hopefully this won't confuse a lot of folks, but the average spend per citizen in the 100 largest cities in the nation is only $2,500 per citizen out of the city's budget. The city of Portsmouth is spending over $7,000 per citizen in their budget of $694 million just this year.
And that's $7,000 they're spending just for all the general services, the police, the fire, the city government. It comes down to $7,000.
Yes. When you break it down, per the number of citizens to your budget, it comes out to $7,000. The national average from cities all over the country is only $2,500. We've got a spending problem. We've got a serious spending problem in the city of Portsmouth.
Sounds like it.
We're not spending our money wisely. So there are going to be budget cuts. And I think there are going to be budget cuts that are going to be deep and they're going to be hurting. I hate to say it, but it's just a fact of life that we're sitting here paying. And of course, a lot of my folks will say, we're looking at serious situations where there's land that's not being taxed. Yeah, that's true. But I think we're spending money where we don't need to be spending it, buying real estate that we don't need to be buying, shortchanging our schools. Now our schools need the money, and obviously our health and safety, which I'm a firm believer in both of those, that they need the money. But we need to find where the wasteful spending is.
Okay, schools, you mentioned that. We only have a couple minutes left. They're going to be closed the entire year. That was just voted on. Everything I hear, parents want the kids back in the seats for face-to-face learning. What do you hear?
Well, again, being a parent of a middle school student, I think that we are being cautious, and I'm not too sure if we're being overcautious, but I do want to make sure that we are prepared. If the buildings are not adequate to being able to properly social distance from the kids being in there. If it's half days and then they shift the entire population, so there'll be less kids in the building and less teachers, and then let's look at that option. But keeping them out of school the entire time, the parents are having to figure out other ways to make sure that their kids are taken care of during the day. So that affects their work schedules.
Last thing, anything that you want to bring up that you have a passion about, or the big thing that you hear voters are telling you as you knock on doors? Tony Goodwin.
Yes, I can only say that a true leader is one that listens to the people. This city is comprised of over 95,000 citizens, and they make up a city we like to call the Portsmouth family. And I feel like we have a strong pride that is just covered up by a bunch of muck and is being told by a camera lens and someone else to keep telling our story. We can do it just as well as anyone else can, and we can do it. I feel like we can do it a lot better. And again, it's evident of the leadership. If the leadership is fractured, the city is fractured. We want to bring unifying leadership to the top office and work to unify this city, and having myself as a good win for Portsmouth is definitely the way to make it happen.
I love that. A good win for Portsmouth. And that was well stated. Certainly Portsmouth has gotten a bad rap with the constant negatives versus all the great things that are happening over there. Hey, a good win. Tony Goodwin for mayor, the city of Portsmouth. Thank you for coming on. You're always welcome.
All right.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
For the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank our chairman, Gary Byler, executive director, Ron Villanueva, and my main man, Max, who always runs the details on these Zoom events. Your host, JP Gotzi, with another Civic Engagement Platform. We'll see you next time here from the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce.